Hello, and welcome to Book 5, Chapter 14 of You Should Be Reading. Today, today I'd like to talk about Dr. Potter's Medicine Show by Eric Scott Fischel. This is a book that I picked up in my recent trip down to the States to visit my good friend Miss B. And it was mentioned on my book haul, and some of you, well, one of you actually, expressed some interest in hearing about it when I've read it. So I bumped it up the list of to be read stuff and I dived into it. Now, Dr. Potter's Medicine Show, from the back of the book, there talks about Dr. Alexander Potter, disgraced Civil War surgeon, now huckster and seller of snake oil, travels the wet roads of the Pacific Northwest with a disheartened company of strongmen, illusionists, fortune tellers, and musical horrors. The book's words, not mine. Um, there's a uh, merciless, a mysterious, merciless, and murderous uh, Lyman Rhodes, and they're like hawking this tonic. There's a drunken dentist that this tonic is taking everything from. Uh, all kinds of fun stuff. It says in the back, and from the back of this, I kind of Um, I didn't think it was going to be what it was. When I read the back of this book, I thought that this particular story was going to be some alternate history type stuff set in the aftermath of the Civil War in the States. That there were going to be a lot of some light smattering of supernatural elements, and it was going to be a story. I did not think what I would get from it was a very grim and dark and kind of uh, what's the word I'm looking for here? Uh, I didn't think that this would end the way it did. I'm not going to spoil how it ends, but the story itself is a lot darker and grimmer than I expected, and I should have kind of been thinking things were going to be a little bit dark because of the cover that we have, all the tattoos and everything. There's various alchemical symbols and stuff going on, and I didn't expect it to be what it was. This book has some interesting characters in it as well. You've got Alexander Potter, who is this he's almost kind of a noir detective in a way. If you're familiar with a noir detective, that they're always kind of run down, uh, drinking, smoking. They get beat up a lot. There's a lot of darkness in those characters. Um, a lot of the sort of thing that nothing's ever going their way. It's always misery upon misery piled on them. And Dr. Potter is a similar type character. Um, there is the strong man who has been with them, him and Potter. The strong man is an African American, and back during the aftermath of the Civil War, not a fun time to be that. But unlike when I read How Few Remain by Harry Turtledove, there wasn't there's not a lot of reference to that in this. There's some, just enough to drive the point home that these people, that the African American type people in this time period were not often well looked upon. There's also a Chinese character um, who's kind of like the fortune teller. You don't see a lot of him. He's only in it very little, but there's reference to him being kind of looked upon in a similar vein to Mr. Oliver, I believe is his name. Oliver, I can't remember the last name. They only mention his last name once or twice. It's usually just Oliver. He's the big strong man. They call him the Black Hercules in this. You got There's also Lyman Rhodes, who is a very disturbing, sociopathic type of a guy. He's the magician, the illusionist. Um, there's Mercy, who is Lyman's husband, or not husband, Lyman's wife, I should say. And she is kind of a bit of a singer, but also a whore. Uh, there is her father, who's doing alchemical work for Mr. Hedwith, Dr. Morrison Hedwith, businessman, body thief, and secret alchemist, uh, who is looking for the stone, the philosopher's stone, the elixir of immortal life, uh, is what he's looking to create. Um, and using all the people that they're hucking this medicine, this sagwa, Choctaw sagwa tonic. Uh, they're hawking it out and selling it to all kinds of people. And it is through these people that these experiments are being done without their knowing on this elixir to try and find the correct alchemical composition to create eternal life. There's a lot of little things kicking around this book. It is very, very realistic in all of its depictions of life back then, um, depictions of the people and whatnot, and there's a lot of misery and woe spread throughout this particular book. Uh, it didn't disturb me in the same way that How You Remain did with some of its depictions of casual racism, or the same way that Little Brother did with the feel of propaganda. Um, this book didn't disturb me, but this book did hit home with some of the horrific things that happen to people, and it really made me go, "Oh God, my word!" So there's a lot of that in this, and definitely some interesting comedy relief characters in the form of a pair of brothers. Um, was it Agamemnon and Solomon, um, who are kind of sort of outlaws, but not really. Um, there's the drunken dentist Hosea McDaniel, who's trying to get revenge for his wife um, that the medicine show have has taken from him, and his sister, who ends up chasing him down, trying to bring him home and getting all wrapped up in everything. It's very cool, very good story, very slim story too, not that long. It's only about 350 pages, uh, but it's good. It's quite good. So yeah, I don't know if there's too much more to talk about, but it's a very interesting story. I've never read a story quite like this one. So I may be checking out some more of Eric Scott Fishel's work in the future. So yeah, that's going to be it for this episode. Thank you all so much for watching. As always, if you like what I'm doing, please give that like button a tap. Give that subscribe button a tap as well if you haven't already, so you can be kept apprised of when I do new videos. And throw a comment in the comment section. Have you read any of Eric Scott Fishel's work? Do you know of any similar stories to this that you think I might be interested in? Throw those comments in the comment section. I'd love to get a discussion going with some people. And until next time, remember, you should be reading Dr. Potter's Medicine Show by Eric Scott Fischel. And I'll see you next time.